Hey guys, welcome to the Binge Zone. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about Captain Marvel and breaking down the movie itself to see, does Disney actually have a agenda? Are they trying to push some social justice warrior nonsense down our throat? And just what is their fascination with creating these women characters who are essentially Mary Sues? Now, for those of you who don't know what a Mary Sue is, it essentially is an overpowered character who faces no obstacles, is powerful for no reason, good at everything they do, and just overall bland character, overpowered, boring, no obstacles, nothing for the audience or readers of comics or whatever genre or medium that you're following the character in to actually attach themselves to that character, because that character just doesn't have personality, doesn't have a struggle, doesn't have anything that makes us relate to the character or makes the character relatable, therefore making them overpowered and uninteresting. Those characters are what we consider Mary Sue. Now, they don't have to be women characters. We also have male characters who are Mary Sues. For example, a lot of people like to point to Superman as a Mary Sue and characters like that. So that is the general archetype of what a Mary Sue is. And when it comes to Captain Marvel, the movie itself, before it was even created, before the movie was even filmed or a cast was even announced for it, we already knew one thing about Captain Marvel. She was the most powerful Avenger in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Let that sink in. Before the character is even formulated, she's already more powerful than all these characters who had about a decade worth of character building. She's already more powerful than all of them, and she is the problem solver to everything that's happened in the MCU. That already is creating a divide between the movie-going audience and the people who want to see good storytelling, because we don't want a character who just comes in and becomes overpowered. So that threw a lot of negativity and a lot of press, bad press against the movie. So before the movie even came out, there's a huge divide. Those who want the movie to fail because of its message and those who want it to succeed because of its message. Despite whether the movie's good or not, we already had two warring agendas. And Disney itself has been very active in creating these types of characters who don't earn their keep or who don't earn the fan love because of what they are and who they are. We as fans are automatically supposed to enjoy the character or like the character or gravitate towards them, even though they haven't earned our gravitation, earned our love or our trust. So when it comes to Captain Marvel, this is no different. The movie itself, I want to say one thing about the Captain Marvel movie. The movie is not terrible. The movie actually is a pretty decent movie, a pretty enjoyable movie if you can block out all the noise around the movie and focus on it itself. However, again, Disney falls into the same pitfall of the Mary Sue character. For example, because Captain Marvel is a woman and we are in an age where more and more people are seeing the disservices and the bad things and the oppression that women have suffered, a lot of movies and a lot of media and a lot of other great powers are trying to overcompensate for the decades or millennia or years or eons of maltreatment that women have received from the patriarchy. But at the same time, there's a way for you to create a powerful on-screen character who is a woman without diminishing not just the movie, but the character themselves. You're doing the character a disservice. The character of Captain Marvel comes off as an overpowered Mary Sue in her own movie, and those parts of her being Captain Marvel and badass is overshadowed by just how easy and how unearned her powers seem and are felt and are given to her. For example, let's use the example of Rey from Star Wars. A lot of people have a problem with Rey just because Rey is overall super powerful, able to match and overpower Kylo Ren in certain regards, even though she has no training, no special background in the Force, no parents who passed on Force sensitivity and powers to her. She's just overpowered because she's Rey and she's the first female lead in a Star Wars movie. And when I say female lead, that's because we're not counting Rogue One. But because of that, Rey is thrust upon us, and Rey's character doesn't seem to earn any of her power or respect. Rey's character is overall more powerful than all the other males in the movies that she's been in. But Rey has no training, no nothing. She's just powerful because Rey is Rey. Captain Marvel falls into that same pitfall. Captain Marvel in the movie has her powers, And she's actually so powerful that she's been restrained throughout the entire movie. So even though she's being restrained, she's already more powerful than everybody else in the movie. And the fact that they're restraining her power adds more insult to injury of just how powerful she is. When you compare her to other heroines, for example, Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman in her own movie was already more powerful than all her other characters. However, Wonder Woman was not powerful or as strong in other regards. She doesn't know about the outside world. Emotionally, she's not there yet. She's not built up to be. While physically she might be there, but emotionally, psychologically, there's a lot of things about Wonder Woman and her fish out of water story that makes her a more vulnerable character, and therefore she doesn't fit the mold of a Mary Sue. And then you have other more prominent heroines throughout cinematic universe. If we look at the Alien franchise, Ripley, for example, no one can say Ripley is not a strong, powerful woman. No one can say Ripley's not a badass. And no one can say Ripley is not a very popular character. And that's because as we watch Alien, we see Ripley grow and become this badass. Ripley doesn't just show up in the beginning of the movie and start laying waste to aliens and killing everybody. And we automatically say Ripley's a badass because she just shows up all badass. No, it's earned. Another character is Sarah Connor in Terminator 2. Sarah Connor is a fucking badass. I'm talking about the baddest bitch on the planet badass, right? And Sarah herself doesn't just start off as this badass. If you saw the first Terminator movie, Sarah was actually a liability in that movie. Sarah wasn't as badass or as powerful as she was in the final cut of Terminator 2. And that's because we saw Sarah's character grow into that badass character. Same with Wonder Woman. By the time Justice comes around, we understand who she is because of what we saw in her own movie and how she grew as a character. But when it comes to Captain Marvel, I will say this about the character. In the beginning of the movie, she was more likable because of her personality, and she was snarky, and she knew she had the juice. She knew she had the stuff, so she talked a lot of shit in the beginning of the movie, and that made her more relatable because it showed her as being more human. But as the movie progressed, and as she began to understand, or as she began to just cut loose, and at that point we're supposed to start liking her more and more, her character becomes more wooden and bland because she's just more powerful than everybody else. Every obstacle she's facing in the movie, she overcame like this. And at the end of the movie, it was just her smacking the bad guys around. Like, there is no climactic point in the movie where you're like, damn, Captain Marvel is really struggling. The beginning of the movie, when she was training and she was snarky, she was getting her ass kicked by Jude Law, and that showed that she wasn't this all-powerful being, so that made her relatable. She talked a lot of shit, but she got her ass whooped. But by the time the end of the movie came, she was just smacking everybody else and talking less shit and not making herself more relatable as a human. She was just, I'm better than you guys because I'm better than you guys. And that is the inherent flaw in Disney and their Mary Sue approach. The fact that these characters are just better than everybody else because they're just better. That struck a chord. And it's not just these two characters. For example, in The Last Jedi, we saw Leia just fly through space out of nowhere, showing force powers we've never seen from Grandmaster Jedi Luke or any of the Grandmasters from the previous Jedi Order. And just because she's Leia, she's never shown any force powers to that magnitude. She's shown force sensitivity and able to telepathically commune with other characters, but to have such an egregious power upgrade over every other character seems unearned, unmerited. And that might be the biggest issue with this Mary Sue, is that Disney's shoving down our throat. These characters are just overpowered and unappealing, and we're just supposed to like them because they're women. But that's not how things work. Characters have to develop, and as a narrative tool for any writer or anyone who's read a book or watched a movie or read a comic book or a TV show, the characters that start off overpowered in the beginning are never fan favorites. It's always the one who pulls himself up by the boots and fights back. And it's not just a woman thing, even though this has been happening predominantly to Disney's female characters. We can go to Elsa. Even their animated universe, like Moana was likable because Moana wasn't superpowered, overpowered at the beginning of the movie. Moana graduated to that level, and that's because maybe that's more to do with Pixar than Disney, but they have a winning formula, and we know that there is a serious problem with Disney shoving down these Mary Sue characters down our throats. I mean, shit, like before the movie came out, you can't say Captain Marvel is the most powerful Avenger before the movie ever comes out. And then when the movie actually comes out and you watch the movie, there's nothing that shows that she's more powerful than Thor, actually. until she takes a dying star to the chest and lives like Thor did, there's nothing to say that she's more powerful than Thor. But you guys are saying that just because she's a woman and girl power and all of that, which I get the representation. I'm a big fan of representation. Shit, look at me. Like, I am a black dude who wants to be represented, and I know there's tons of girls and women who want to be represented in these movies, but do them justice. Do them justice. Make them interesting. Look at Black Panther. In his own movie, he wasn't the most powerful character. He made it work. He had to go through obstacles, and that's why we gravitated towards them. If you look at any of the other movies that are very successful, it's always the struggle of the main character, whether man or female. If you look at all the superhero movies that are successful, it's not just man or female. It's the character themselves as they struggle and ascertain a certain goal that drives the audience closer to them. So just don't make them overpowered and I'm stronger than everybody because fuck it, I'm a girl and I got a JJ. No, that's not how it works. Build a character, make her interesting. Captain Marvel in the beginning of the movie, again, wasn't a badass, and she was more likable. She had snarky comments. She was flawed. She had her problems, and we liked the beginning of it. I enjoyed the beginning of Captain Marvel because of that power and that's because of the flaw within Captain Marvel and the character having to grow past that. And I was looking forward to seeing an arc where she actually grows past it, not just wakes up and is like, you know what, I'm tired of playing with you guys, and I'm gonna fly around the galaxy and just slap bad guys up. Oh, Nick Fury wants to page me because Thanos is coming. I'm gonna come in. No, just don't spend characters because you can and you make them overpowered. Make them more interesting. Anyway, guys, that's my thoughts on Disney and the overall Mary Sue-ness of their brand and how they're diluting great characters to fill a propaganda and a quota that people really aren't asking for because they're tarnishing the movies themselves and they're turning fans away. Anyway, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Let me know what you think about Captain Marvel, Disney's Mary Sue-ness, and overall, did you enjoy the movie? Do you think Disney will learn from this? I'd love to hear your feedback in the comment section below. And if you liked the video, definitely the thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button if you guys haven't already. And until next time, binge on.